It looks like we're going to get the names of the other UFO whistleblowers or witnesses at the UAP hearing on Thursday, and some other really juicy news, including what exactly is the UFO disclosure plan mentioned in the new legislation pushed by Chuck Schumer in a bipartisan effort. Let's talk about that and more. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, here's Leslie Kean telling us more about the upcoming hearing and what we can expect to learn from Tim Burchett's press conference on Thursday.
Well, I know that the office of Tim Burchett, Representative Tim Burchett, who is one of the people who's going to chair this meeting, is going to have a press conference on Thursday. They're going to announce at that press conference the logistics and the details, and I assume they will announce who the witnesses are as well. I know of at least 3 that will be there. I'm not at liberty to disclose who they are, but we will be finding out very soon.
And in regards to Representative Burchett, he said this about pilots and the fact that they are not lying, he says, about what they're seeing. Take a listen.
Well, I believe the pilots, but that is really interesting that we are probably going to learn the names of the witnesses on Thursday, although Leslie Kean is not confirming that. But yeah, so stay tuned for Thursday and what Tim Burchett has to say. Regarding the hearing, we have Anna Paulina Luna, who is the other representative in the House who is leading this hearing. Ostensibly, of course, Comer is the head of the Oversight Committee, but he is he's delegating it to this particular hearing to Burchett and Luna. So it's interesting to see what Luna has to say, getting materials ready for the House Oversight UAP hearing with Representative Tim Burchett. And yeah, so really interesting stuff. But this, this lovely picture that she posted, looking at all the materials. Well, Dan Warren, as some of you are familiar with on YouTube, great channel. He says, this is the gimbal video. Please ask for the entirety of the video to be publicly released because the beginning and end of the video have been cropped. More than a little bit. Let's listen to how much has been cropped, according to Jeremy Corbell.
No, something that's even more frustrating is, the gimbal footage that's become real popular. It looks like the Lazar thing with 2 plates. There's 4 more minutes of that footage. There's a whole fleet of them. They look a little different than that object. But if the pilots, like Ryan Graves is good friends with the guy that actually filmed that, and like that object actually moved back on itself. And there was a fleet of them. There was other objects around it. There's 4 more minutes of that footage. It's all classified. Fucking release it. Why wouldn't you show that? When Congress is asking for the best of the best, they just swamp gas you 1 piece of footage I released? What the fuck? They should show that footage.
Is there any explanation as to why they don't release the other 4 minutes?
You want to know something that's even more frustrating is, the gimbal footage that's become...
All right, well, there we go. So there are 4 more minutes of that gimbal footage. And yeah, there were a fleet of them. I've actually seen a mock-up of that footage, showing of the situation in general, what the other UFOs look like and how they were behaving. And I think the one we were seeing was like the lead UFO or something like that, seemingly possibly in control of the other UFOs. It's also interesting that the pilot that took that footage, the gimbal footage, I don't think we know his name yet. I don't think he has come out publicly, he or she. Good friends with Ryan Graves, apparently. So I suppose they're still an active duty service person. And that, maybe at some point they will be able to come forward publicly. You would hope that whistleblower laws would protect them, but it only protects people coming out behind closed doors. There needs to be a mechanism for people to talk publicly, but so far, no go. Speaking of which, I thought I'd bring this fun story to your attention on howsandwhys.com. Breaking news today or yesterday's article. There is a 9-minute video of Biden and Podesta meeting aliens. Head of top alien tech firm to testify soon claims UFO researcher. Now, if I sound skeptical, if my tone of voice is skeptical, it's skeptical. But, you know, who knows, right? Who knows? It seems like the waiting time is over. UFO disclosure is imminent. There is growing skepticism and indifference toward whistleblower David Grush's claims that the U.S. federal government has hidden information about recovered ET spacecraft from Congress. Republican leaders have dismissed potential witnesses, and NASA officials have reportedly withdrawn from an upcoming hearing on UFOs. However, 2 Republican lawmakers leading the investigation still intend to hold a public hearing on July 26. Yeah, and I don't like this political angle of the article is trying to invoke politics, which I think is really unhelpful to the conversation. Luna and Representative Tim Burchett are facing pressure from the Pentagon and NASA. After announcing their investigation into UFOs, NASA has stopped cooperating with the investigation, leading to speculation of a cover-up. Well, I mean, has NASA ever cooperated with an investigation? They suddenly stopped. They were so helpful for so long, and then all of a sudden they just stopped. Despite the challenges, Luna and Burchett remain determined to hold the hearing and promise an impressive lineup of witnesses. If necessary, Burchett is even willing to hold a field hearing in front of his own yard. The hearing is scheduled for the last week of July before Congress goes on recess. Okay, then the article goes on to talk about the recent rumors of the Gonzi. If you have been following this story as well, there is a supposed source that is talking about the Gonzi, which is what they're calling the Greys or whatever. And there's this convoluted story about their history and their interactions with the government. And I have not been covering this news because I don't think it is news. But here it is. You can read more about the Gonzi and whatever it is. I will link to this article below. I have zero faith in that story. That's why I'm not covering it. But I am only covering it now to show you that I'm not covering it. I will not go into the details of the Gonzi story, because I do think it is disinformation. But going on to what I think is important information is the final paragraphs from the article on the Hill. I read part of this article and went over some of the information yesterday. However, there is a bit on the last 2 paragraphs of this article that is very intriguing and I think very important. Let's see. Yes. Fortunately, the public may not have to wait for the new legislation to become law to learn more about what the U.S. government knows. Okay, actually, it's 4 paragraphs from the bottom. Following a recommendation from the review board, the legislation establishes the president as the sole and non-delegable authority to disclose UFO-related records to the public. Given this elevation of authority directly to the president, it is likely that the Schumer-led Senate coordinated or consulted with the Biden White House before proposing such extraordinary legislation. And I reported on this yesterday, or gave my thoughts on it, when Schumer came out supporting this legislation and leading this bipartisan effort to get this legislation passed. I don't think he would have done that without the backing of the Democratic establishment and the powers that be in general. And so it's no surprise that he would have been coordinating with Biden. And that became even more obvious when Kirby made his statements that I reported on yesterday, and when the White House spokesman was not dismissive at all toward the UAP UFO topic. In other words, it looks like the executive branch is getting involved directly. Does that mean we are going to deal with the speech, right? My fellow Americans, we are not alone. Is that coming? Is it going to be Biden that delivers that to the American people and the people of the world? In a way, I would be glad if it were the president. I think that news like that should theoretically come from the president. However, in this heavily politicized world that we live in, I wonder if that's really wise, because that's really going to appeal to one side, and one side is going to say, well, can we trust what's being said by the other side? And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I think in a way this might actually be better coming from some sort of bipartisan press conference in Congress. Congress is closer to the people and more representative of the people because it does represent both sides. But in any case, it does look like the executive branch is getting involved and might even be able to determine what gets disclosed and what doesn't. Let me know if you think that's a good idea in the comments below. Speaking of that UAP legislation, I talked about this on the live stream. I even read some of the language from the legislation, and part of that was the controlled plan, the controlled disclosure plan. And it was under section 09C3B, and during the live stream I didn't have time to go look that up, but I was very intrigued by what that meant. The controlled disclosure campaign plan is in the proper terminology here, according to the language of the proposed legislation. They have a plan for disclosure. That is really, really intriguing. And so some thoughtful person was able to find that. And let me just read what that actually says, the 3B. It's a benchmark-driven plan based upon a review of the proceedings in conformity with the decisions reflected therein, recommending precise requirements for periodic review, downgrading, and declassification, as well as the exact time or specified occurrence following which each postponed item may be appropriately disclosed to the public under this title. So, kind of, it doesn't give me a real clear picture there, but it gives me a slightly better picture. Basically, they've got a plan, and that's the plan. They've got a benchmark-driven plan driven by a review of the proceedings. So, not super helpful, but what is helpful is hearing Gary Nolan talk about alien bodies, because that is part of this whole thing, right? That's part of the legislation, is creating this committee, this review board that is going to get this material, this information about reverse engineering, UFO technology, crash retrievals, and aliens living and dead. And here is Gary Nolan talking about that for a few seconds.
And this is really fascinating, the whole eminent domain, but linked into this is if there are actual materials, objects, frankly, bodies, this is in the documentation, so it's not like I'm raising it. There's biological material. That's a nice way of saying bodies. The review board will have the option to actually inspect it in person.
Wow, can you imagine a group of congressmen being summoned to or eagerly running over to inspect the bodies of non-humans? And in the legislation, I believe the phrase is, alive or dead. So we could actually potentially be talking about living entities. And, we have heard that there has been a video shown to congressmen that left them shaking about an interview, an exchange between humans and a non-human. Was this ancient footage? Was this recent footage? Some people think it's a particular video that has been making the rounds for the last few years, and it could well be that video, or it could be something only these guys have access to. What made the congressman shake? I don't know. I would still like to see that video very much, whether it would leave me shaking or not. But my point is, if that was a recent video, could that being, if it is still interacting with humans, still be around and willing to meet some congresspeople? I don't know, but all this is very juicy and very interesting. There are very concerning elements of it. I'm not entirely sure I like how Congress is handling it, but they are doing something. They are pushing this forward, or at least seeming to. Possibly they are simply trying to control the situation. But like I reported on yesterday, Ross Coulthart says he believes they are under pressure not just to disclose in a timely manner, but to disclose truthfully. And that does give me some encouragement. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. There are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.